These are 5 black actors who turned the 1990s into the golden era of black cinema, collectively grossing over $3 billion and fundamentally reshaping what Hollywood believed was possible. Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Wesley Snipes, Angela Bassett, and Laurence Fishburne didn't just succeed during this decade, they strategically positioned themselves as Hollywood's most bankable stars, while breaking industry barriers that had stood for generations. The numbers tell part of the story, but here's the thing. By the end of the decade, these 5 actors had appeared in films that collectively generated over $3 billion at the global box office. The real story is how they did it and why their strategic career moves during this specific 10-year window created a foundation that's still supporting black cinema today. Denzel Washington, the prestige anchor. Walking into the 1990s, Denzel Washington already held an Oscar in his hand. Best Supporting Actor for Glory came to him at the ceremony on March 26, 1990, and that statue gave him something most actors never get: the ability to be selective. What he did with that leverage was make Malcolm X, a film that would define both his career and the decade's approach to black cinema. Malcolm X was a battlefield before cameras ever rolled. $33 million sounds modest now, but this was 1992, and the lead was a black actor playing one of America's most polarizing historical figures. Denzel spent an entire year preparing, reading every book on Malcolm X, listening to every available speech, interviewing Betty Shabazz and Malcolm's brothers, attending Fruit of Islam courses, becoming an expert in Lindy Hop dancing, and he stopped eating pork entirely. Then came the conch, that chemical hair-straightening process Malcolm himself described as burning like hell, and Denzel later admitted his hair fell out from it. Money ran short during production, which meant both Denzel and director Spike Lee took pay cuts, while high-profile donors including Oprah Winfrey and Michael Jordan stepped in to help complete funding. The film earned $48.2 million domestically on that $33 million budget. But here's what mattered more. It established Denzel as an actor who could carry prestigious, difficult material to both critical acclaim and commercial success. 89% on Rotten Tomatoes backed that up, and Roger Ebert later placed the performance in the same category as Denzel's work in The Hurricane years later, calling both among his greatest. But Denzel's strategy was brilliant because he didn't just chase prestige pieces, he alternated. Malcolm X in '92, then The Pelican Brief in '93, pulling $100.8 million domestically and nearly $200 million worldwide on a $45 million budget. Philadelphia came next for more prestige. Then Crimson Tide in '95 arrived as a straight action thriller with a $53 million budget that earned $91 million domestically. This pattern held throughout the decade. The Hurricane in '99 earned him his second Oscar nomination of the decade and his first Golden Globe win for Best Actor in a Drama, making him the first black actor to win that specific award since Sidney Poitier in 1963. That same year, he also released The Bone Collector, which pulled $66.5 million domestically as a commercial thriller. 4 consecutive NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Actor, from 1993 to '97, landed in Denzel's hands by decade's end. He'd worked with Spike Lee 3 times, establishing one of the decade's most important actor-director partnerships, and the proof was complete that a black actor could open both prestige dramas and commercial blockbusters internationally. That's a distinction Wesley Snipes would also prove in a very different genre. The Washington Post captured his Malcolm X preparation in 1992, with Denzel joking about starting to write a script himself, so deeply had he immersed in the material. Spike Lee told Atlanta Black Star years later that people didn't understand the level of preparation, noting that what Denzel brought was sometimes better than Malcolm's own words. Samuel L. Jackson, the late bloomer's explosion. Samuel L. Jackson's story is about transformation and timing. Born in 1948, he spent his early career as a stage actor, originated the role in A Soldier's Play off-Broadway from 1981 to '83, worked as a stand-in for Bill Cosby on The Cosby Show for 3 years, and struggled with heroin and cocaine addiction. Only a week or 2 after leaving rehab, he started filming Jungle Fever in 1991. That performance at the Cannes Film Festival earned him the Special Jury Prize for Best Supporting Actor. And here's the thing. The festival had discontinued that award, but revived it specifically for Jackson's performance. 42 years old, and his career was about to detonate. The numbers from Jackson's '90s run are staggering in a way that's hard to process. Jurassic Park in '93 made $1.058 billion worldwide. Pulp Fiction in '94, made on an $8 million budget, earned $213.9 million worldwide. Die Hard with a Vengeance in '95 pulled $366.1 million. A Time to Kill in '96 earned $108.8 million domestically, and Star Wars Episode I in '99 made $924.3 million worldwide. A.C. Nielsen determined by decade's end that Jackson had appeared in more films than any other actor, with those films grossing $1.7 billion domestically alone. Pulp Fiction changed everything. Jules Winfield was originally written for Laurence Fishburne, who declined, and Paul Calderone almost won the role. Then Jackson showed up at the callback, And this is where it gets interesting. Producer Richard Gladstein told Men's Journal that Jackson arrived angry and tired with a burger and milkshake in hand. The crew mistook him for Laurence Fishburne, and Gladstein admitted he was scared thinking Jackson might shoot him before watching him just steal the part. That character, Jules Winfield with his jerry-curled wig, became what Fandango later called the ultimate 90s character. The wig itself has a story worth telling because the script called for a giant afro. Tarantino's assistant mistakenly bought a jerry-curled wig, and Jackson persuaded Tarantino to keep it after NWA had popularized the style. That accidental choice became iconic. Jackson's Ezekiel 25:17 monologue became one of cinema's most quoted scenes. At the 2024 TCM Classic Film Festival, Jackson reflected on the film, saying it changed his life drastically, that this was the particular role where people started thinking he was the coolest person on the planet. His Oscar nomination for Pulp Fiction, which he lost to Martin Landau, remains a contentious topic. Jackson told the Times UK in 2022 that he should have won, but Oscars don't move the comma on your check, and he'd done a good job of getting people in seats. A Time to Kill gets him less diplomatic. In a 2023 Vulture interview, Jackson described scenes they cut from that film that kept him from getting an Oscar, an emotional courtroom speech where the whole set was in tears that didn't make the final cut. Jackson's relationship with Quentin Tarantino, 3 films in the 90s alone, gave him something more valuable than awards. Tarantino told Men's Journal that when Jackson says his dialogue, he hears music and poetry, that nobody says his dialogue the way Sam does. That partnership produced Pulp Fiction, the true romance screenplay, and Jackie Brown, which earned Jackson the Berlin Silver Bear for Best Actor in '98. The honorary Oscar arrived in 2022 with a citation calling him a cultural icon whose dynamic work has resonated across genres and generations. That work started in the 90s when a 40-something former addict became the coolest person in cinema. Wesley Snipes. The action architect. Wesley Snipes holds a 5th-degree black belt in Shotokan Karate and a 2nd-degree black belt in Hapkido, training that started when he was 12 years old. A BFA from SUNY Purchase on a Victor Borge scholarship and time at the High School of Performing Arts in New York City gave him the other half. This combination of legitimate martial arts credentials plus classical training positioned him to do something Hollywood hadn't seen before. $8 million went into making New Jack City in 1991. $47.6 million domestically came back out, making it the highest-grossing independent film of 1991 and the 26th highest-grossing film of the entire year. Barry Michael Cooper wrote the role of Nino Brown specifically for Snipes, and the Washington Post in 1991 described Snipes as the most celebrated new actor of the season after Jungle Fever. White Men Can't Jump in '92 pulled $76.3 million domestically and $90.8 million worldwide, landing as the 16th highest-grossing film of the year. Passenger 57, also in '92, made $44 million domestically on a $15 million budget, establishing Snipes in the action genre. Sylvester Stallone was offered that film originally, but chose Stop or My Mom Will Shoot instead, and Steven Seagal also passed on it for Under Siege. $5.5 million became Snipes' asking price by Money Train in '95. Demolition Man, in '93, with a budget between $45 and $77 million, made $159 million worldwide. These choices came deliberately. A Slate interview from 1998 captured Snipes addressing the international question directly. People thought black talent in film doesn't sell internationally. Then Blade came out and blew up in Japan despite the lead being a black guy, and he called these results testaments to the lack of cultural awareness in the industry. Blade is the story everyone knows now, but the context matters because this was 1998. Batman and Robin had nearly killed the superhero genre in '97. Marvel's only previous theatrical film was Howard the Duck in '86, which had flopped, and Blade was made for $45 million, $70.1 million domestically, and $131.2 million worldwide came back. Writer David S. Goyer pitched Blade as the Star Wars of black vampire films. Snipes had actually been trying to make a Black Panther film in the mid-90s, with John Singleton and Mario Van Peebles considered as directors, but it never materialized and he pivoted to Blade instead. The character drew inspiration from William Marshall's Blackula, Gene Kelly, Douglas Fairbanks, and Richard Roundtree's Shaft. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill, the most famous line in Blade.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Came from Snipes improvising and director Stephen Norrington keeping it. That character's black leather tactical aesthetic got adopted later by X-Men in 2000 and Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and Blade proved that rated comic book films could succeed nearly 2 decades before Logan and Deadpool. MovieWeb analyzed later that without Blade paving the way, you don't have the confidence to move forward with X-Men and Spider-Man, and you certainly don't eventually get the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Kevin Feige has acknowledged Blade's importance in establishing Marvel as a serious Hollywood player. Snipes received his Hollywood Walk of Fame star on August 21, 1998. The Blade trilogy eventually grossed over $400 million globally, and in 2024, Snipes reprised Blade in Deadpool and Wolverine, receiving 2 Guinness World Records for the role. But Snipes also made a point that reveals his strategy when he told an interviewer he could do New Jack until he died, but that wouldn't travel internationally and would limit his career length. Classically trained but good at kicking and punching, he wanted to give even straight action characters depth and substance. Angela Bassett, the transformation specialist. Yale gave Angela Bassett a Bachelor of Arts in African American Studies in 1980, then her Master of Fine Arts from Yale School of Drama in 1983, and that's where she met future husband Courtney B. Vance. The role of Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It came with exactly 1 month to prepare before filming began in December 1992. 30 days of preparation looked like this. 5 a.m. wake up every morning, 2.5 hours in the gym, then approximately 10 hours of choreography training with Michael Peters for 16-hour days without breaks. Broccoli, string beans, Yukon potatoes, bland chicken breast, black coffee, and water became her entire diet. Nothing else. Tina Turner personally did Bassett's makeup, advised on wigs and outfits, and provided actual costumes from storage while Bassett lip-synced to Turner's re-recorded vocals. Halle Berry, Robin Givens, Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, Pam Grier, and Vanessa L. Williams all lost the role to her. $15 million made the film. $39.1 million domestically and $61 million worldwide, came back with a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and an A Cinema score. Gene Siskel gave it 4 out of 4 stars, calling it a powerful, joyful, raw, energetically acted biopic, and Entertainment Weekly's Mark Bernardin said Bassett gave the performance of a lifetime. The Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy went to Bassett, making her the first African American to win the Golden Globe for Best Actress. The Oscar nomination came, but she lost to Holly Hunter for The Piano, a loss still debated today. 29 years would pass before her next Oscar nomination in 2023. Bassett told People magazine years later that nothing had been as difficult as Tina Turner. Nothing as difficult physically, emotionally, spiritually, or vocally. Tina Turner herself wrote in Time 100 in 2023 that when they first met, Bassett didn't look, sound, or move like her, but Turner could see she had strength, determination, and big dreams. Turner told Bassett she never mimicked her but instead reached deep into her soul, found her inner Tina, and showed her to the world. Waiting to Exhale in '95 was another strategic move. Number 1, opening with a $14.1 million opening weekend, $67.05 million domestically, and $81.45 million worldwide total, the soundtrack went 7 times platinum and topped the Billboard 200. 26th highest-grossing film of 1995. The LA Times called it a social phenomenon, while BFI praised Bassett's gale force performance as Bernadine, and that car-burning scene became an iconic moment of black female rage. Monsters Ball was a role Bassett turned down, the one that eventually went to Halle Berry and won Berry the Oscar. Bassett told Newsweek in 2002 that she wasn't going to be a prostitute on film, couldn't do that because it's such a stereotype about black women and sexuality. She said she couldn't and didn't begrudge Halle her success, that it wasn't the role for her, but she told Berry she'd win. That decision reveals Bassett's awareness of image and legacy. Her words to IMDb were direct. "This is a career about images. It's celluloid and they last forever. I'm a black woman from America. My people were slaves in America, and even though we're free on paper and in law, I'm not going to allow you to enslave me on film, in celluloid, for all to see." Multiple NAACP Image Awards for What's Love Got to Do with It, Waiting to Exhale, and The Jacksons. An American Dream came to Bassett by the end of the decade, and she'd eventually win 17 NAACP Image Awards total. Malcolm X with Denzel Washington, work with John Singleton on Boys and the Hood, Forrest Whitaker on Waiting to Exhale, and Robert Zemeckis on Contact, which made $171.1 million worldwide, filled out her decade. Laurence Fishburne, the Range Master, 14 years old when he lied about his age to get cast in Apocalypse. Now, Laurence Fishburne celebrated his 15th and 16th birthdays during filming in the Philippines. Professional acting since age 10 had prepared him, and by the time the 90s started, he'd already won a Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a play for August Wilson's 2 Trains Running in '92, and an Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama in '93. Range during this decade is what stands out. Boys in the Hood in '91 put him as Furious Styles, the father figure in a film made for $6.5 million that earned $57.5 million domestically. Director John Singleton became the youngest and first African-American Best Director Oscar nominee. The film was later selected for the National Film Registry in 2002, and in 2024 the Academy Museum launched an exhibition based on it. Ike Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It in '93 came after Fishburne turned the role down 5 times. Angela Bassett's casting finally convinced him, and when he took it, he personally rewrote portions of the script to give Ike more dimension. The Hollywood Foreign Press got a quote from him in 1993, explaining his approach. The script had Ike pretty one-dimensional. He didn't want to play that, so he wanted to make him interesting, to give him some attractive quality, something that would draw Anna May to him like a spider weaving his web. Angela Bassett told the New York Times that Fishburne saved Ike, salvaged it, lifted it. Reading the script, it was just Ike as devil and Tina as silent saint, which was boring and dumb, and she credited Fishburne with bringing out Ike's dignity and not making an evil black male stereotype. Janet Maslin wrote in the New York Times that the brilliant mercurial portrayal of Ike Turner by Laurence Fishburne was what elevated the film beyond run-of-the-mill biography. An Oscar nomination for Best Actor came, though he lost to Tom Hanks. Ike Turner himself showed up unannounced on set, and Fishburne later described him as so dapper, signing pictures and handing them out for the crew. The Matrix in '99 changed everything again. $63 million made the film. It opened at $27.8 million, which was the largest Easter and April opening at the time, and $171.5 million domestically, plus $463.5 million worldwide, made it the fourth highest-grossing film of 1999 worldwide, the highest-grossing Warner Brothers film of the year, and the highest-grossing rated film of the year. Training for The Matrix was intense because martial arts choreographer Yuen Woo-ping was concerned Western actors wouldn't be able to pull off Hong Kong-style action. Fishburne told Geek Tyrant they trained really hard, and in the middle of that training he realized why professional athletes are paid so much, because they're always in pain. Each actor had two personal trainers. The red pill, blue pill scene became embedded in global culture as a metaphor for choice and reality. Fishburne later told First Curiosity that there's no sci-fi action or fantasy movie that comes after The Matrix that hasn't been influenced by it, and the film was preserved in the National Film Registry in 2012. Between Boys in the Hood and The Matrix, Fishburne also became the first African-American to play Othello in a major Hollywood studio film in '95. $11 million budget. Mixed reviews with a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the significance was in breaking that particular barrier. A quote from '96 has Fishburne joking about being mistaken for Samuel L. Jackson, saying that for the last 6 months people had been coming up saying they loved him in Pulp Fiction, Mr. Jackson. The irony runs deep because Jackson had actually been offered Fishburne's role in What's Love Got to Do with It and had been mistaken for Fishburne at his Pulp Fiction audition. The collective architecture. Working together strategically, these 5 actors built something larger than individual careers. Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett did Malcolm X together in '92. Samuel L. Jackson and Wesley Snipes both appeared in Jungle Fever in '91 and Mo Better Blues in '90, while Laurence Fishburne and Angela Bassett did Boys in the Hood in '91 and What's Love Got to Do with It in '93. Spike Lee directed Washington 3 times, Jackson 3 times, and Snipes twice, and John Singleton directed Fishburne twice and Bassett once. Over $3 billion in combined box office impact when you add up their major films. What they proved matters more than the money. Wesley Snipes proved with Blade that a black superhero could lead a Marvel film and succeed internationally, creating the foundation for everything that followed. Samuel L. Jackson proved that a black actor in his 40s could become the coolest person in cinema and the most prolific box office draw of his generation. Angela Bassett proved that black actresses could win major awards and carry films while maintaining control over their image. Denzel Washington proved that a black actor could alternate between prestige and commercial work at the highest level. Laurence Fishburne proved that range from father figure to villain to action hero to Shakespearean lead was possible within a single decade. New genres emerged from their work. Boys in the Hood pioneered the hood film genre, inspiring New Jack City, Juice, Menace to Society, and Friday, while Blade established the template for modern superhero films. Waiting to Exhale, as BFI noted, rubber stamped the end of America's downbeat hood cycle and opened space for different kinds of black stories. The foundation that built everything after. The 1990s were a golden era for black cinema because these 5 actors made strategic choices that compounded over time. Taking whatever roles were offered wasn't the play, and every choice created space for the next one. Malcolm X proved biographical dramas about controversial black figures could succeed. Pulp Fiction proved black actors could be cool without being athletes or musicians. Blade proved black superheroes could work. What's Love Got to Do with It proved black actresses could win Golden Globes, and The Matrix proved black actors could anchor science fiction. Black Panther making $1.3 billion in 2018 traces back to Wesley Snipes trying to make that exact film in the mid-90s. Multiple black actors winning Oscars in the 2010s and 2020s connects to the groundwork Denzel, Angela, and Laurence laid with their '90s nominations. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury building the MCU makes sense when you remember he was already the most prolific box office actor of his generation before Marvel called. Over $3 billion collectively grossed in the '90s. International awards won from Cannes to Berlin to the Oscars. Representation barriers broken in leading roles, new genres established, and influence on every generation that followed. Dominating the '90s wasn't an accident for these actors. If you like this analysis, you'll love where I go next. Click the video on your screen and find out.